Bali, entrepreneurship, and making money online are the three topics we are going to be discussing in this video. As you can see, we've got a pretty decent background, and I'm joined with Matty and Will. Pleasure to have you guys here. Matty, Will, introduce yourself, please, lads.
So we run Booster Agency. Predominantly, we're a paid ads agency. Funny enough, quick backstory. Will and I have been competitors for, I think, coming up to 8 years. And then only around 7 months ago, we kind of just decided, you know what, going to join forces, and we've been running our agency together ever since.
Yeah, so I take care of anything on the service delivery side. That's the bit that I've always enjoyed. Matty's far better at the sales bit, which is the bit that I've always hated. So yeah, we make a very good duo in that sense. But yeah, like I say, running this for nearly 8 years, and now we're on to this new little venture.
Love it. Love it. Well, absolutely love it. And this is going to be a great episode. We're going to go through limiting beliefs, what it's like to be in Bali and making money online. So if you are someone who is interested in maybe ever filming a video like this with a backdrop like this, then this is going to be an absolute gold dust video for you. So look forward to hearing what you think. So lads, I wanted to get into firstly, obviously we're in this background, and people watching are probably thinking, just people sitting with a lovely background in Bali. But I want to actually demyth what is online business, what is online work, remote work actually like? How have you both found it?
Honestly, it's a tough one because a lot of people, they follow me on social media. I have it, especially with friends and family, and I go back to London. I'm from the UK, and people just go, mate, you spend 8 hours a day by the beach. Like, don't tell me you live a stressful lifestyle. And it's like, I don't think people get it. You know, I spend majority of my time literally behind the laptop, either in a cafe or in our villa, just working non-stop all day, every day. And people don't really understand that. Yes, they see the lifestyle content. Yes, every now and again I go enjoy myself on the beach on a Saturday, but 90% of the time I'm behind a laptop, grinding and working. Obviously, I've been in the space for 8 years now, so it didn't come like that. I'm not out here in Bali for it did take a good 7-8 years of just properly grinding it out. It didn't come overnight, and it's just one of those things people don't see online. And I think that's the problem with the online space, especially in the whole course selling industry. You get a lot of these guys who they only post content of them driving around the Lambos. They only post content of them, living that luxury lifestyle, but they don't really necessarily document the whole journey. So people see that online nowadays, and it's a tough one because I'm 23. There's a lot of guys getting into the entrepreneurship space at 16 years old, 17 years old. That's when I started. And people see all the fancy stuff online. They see the people in villas like this, and it's quite hard to, like, when you obviously were working your 9 to 5, you see all this online, you're like, how the fuck do these people how have they got this lifestyle? I don't know if you want to touch on that, but
well, the thing is, like, to reiterate, we are working 7 days a week at the moment. It's very full on. We are working in a lot of cafes. A lot of time kind of our weekend treat is that we jump to a nicer place and work from there instead. But we've actually just locked into a villa for the next 3 months, and a big part of that is because we're changing environments so much. It just makes complete sense to have one place where we can have an office and we can completely kind of just get our heads down and try and get it going that way. But yeah, you're not going to be, celebrating in beach clubs and having this kind of exciting life all the time. It's a really nice part of it. And like villas like this and stuff, it becomes a bit more of the norm, which is awesome. But you got to work.
100%.
And as bad as it sounds, it's not easy working on your laptop in all these different cafes, different beach clubs. Like, you generally need to have a place where you can just literally lock in for maybe 3 months.
100%. And that, for me, that's like one of the things that people thinking we've come here for a holiday. Like, I'm sure you have friends who ask you about, like, it's you're coming on a holiday, you're chilling on the beach. But I think for me, we've said a lot of the almost negative things, but for me, in terms of why it's a no-brainer to move somewhere like here, was just the convenience. Like, the things get delivered to you very quickly. It's obviously a very cheap price to live here as well. But then alongside the convenience is that community, and that just us three being able to have a weekend together out here chatting business. Like, that just doesn't happen in the UK, right?
Well, it's even a little bit. It's like waking up in the morning, going for a beach walk, like to clear your head, stuff like that. It's obviously things you just don't get in the UK. So like the lifestyle bit is really, it's just amplified completely compared to what you got at home. We've done a lot of jumping about, particularly like visa runs, stuff like this. The reality is, if you're gonna, it all looks very, very exciting, but you need to be able to stay somewhere, ideally for a few months, because like when we've gone to places for say 4 days, you're not going to want to work. You want to get there, you want to see the new city, wherever it is. You need somewhere where like you say, you can just kind of get your head down. And it's quite funny, we've been in Bali quite a long time. There's a lot of places in Bali that we haven't seen, which a lot of people who've been in a very short time have seen.
Yeah.
And that's just because you haven't got that kind of pull to kind of explore everything, because you know you're going to be here a little while, and then of course you can just crack on with work.
Yeah, I think for anyone watching this as well, my rule of thumb is 90 days.
Yeah.
Like, if you're to move the business forward, I do believe you need 90 days somewhere. Especially with us jumping countries, I've spent the last few years kind of traveling around Europe, and I've always said to myself, anything less than 3 months, I'm just not going to be able to focus on looking. I need 90 days in that country to really obviously go and do those weekends experiencing the city or town, but at the same time I need to spend 90% of the time behind
And it's so funny, isn't it, because we talk about this freedom lifestyle that everyone wants to get, but then we get this taste of freedom and then we realize very quickly that you actually have to limit your freedom and stay in one place for a bit of time, because you see the people online who start bragging about the fact they've lived in 100 countries in 20 days, and it's like, oh, okay, fine, but you just know behind the scenes they're getting no work done because of how like stressful it is on your body, as well as like how much it costs, all of that put together. And I think what's nice about the online lifestyle is the choice. Like, we could click our fingers and go and move to Cape Town or go and move to Dubai literally tomorrow, and that's the cool part. But the funny part about it is we have to resist that urge to move, because actually, as you said, 90 days minimum to lock in somewhere, right?
But I think at the same time, there you go. But I think at the same time on that as well, like we were talking about this earlier, like you get to a point where you don't want a holiday, and actually like a holiday would be really inconvenient, because like you do just want to get, whatever it is, business to the next level, health to the next level. It doesn't always have to be kind of business related, but you are just far better off staying in one place. And like I say, if someone said to me now, like, oh, let's go somewhere for a week, I'd be like, well, I don't really want to, which is obviously a lovely place to be in, because when I was back home, it was like you're trying to escape your reality to go away. But that's one of the kind of real different parts about it.
So I've got a question for you. I'm quite curious, because bit of sort of background, some of you may know, but I've never actually gone into a job and really worked in the corporate world. I just literally dropped out of school at 17, went all in on my marketing agency. But I'm quite curious, did you find you were more productive working your 9-to-5 corporate job, or do you find it's a lot easier to be productive working online? Because a lot of people see us obviously travelling around like this. Yeah. Oh, he's probably not getting any work done. He probably doesn't spend 8 hours.
Yeah. So much more productive out here, and there's a few reasons for that. The first is I like what I do out here versus what I do at the 9-to-5, so it's easy to be productive and lock in when you actually enjoy what you're doing. The second, which is why I think we all love it out here as well, is my lifestyle is completely locked in out here. Like, I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I'm eating the best food I've ever been in. I'm eating the best food I've ever had. I'm around the community of people that inspire me to do better. And that overall lifestyle, I talk about the kind of pillars of building this empire that we're trying to build, and I know I need to have all those pillars in place. And in London, man, like, it gets dark at 3 p.m. I'm eating awful processed food the whole time. People are trying to get me to drink every weekend, and that's why I'm so much more productive out here. I wonder, what about you guys?
Environment's everything. I'm from London, and a lot of my UK friends, I love them to bits, but every Friday night, Saturday night, we end up in the pub and 8 pints deep, and that's just the culture in the UK. Like,
exactly.
Us three are all from the UK, and it's just.
And what are you? 6 months.
Well, I'm now 6 months sober, which for me is obviously quite a big deal. But I feel better than ever, more focused on my business, more productive, and just goes to show, like, putting yourselves in the right environment is a complete game changer. Like, being in London's great. Yes, it's a city, it's thriving, but at the same time, the people you're around there, it can be challenging. I've got a lot of friends in the corporate world. I completely respect them. That's what they want to do. I get that, but I've literally, one of our biggest clients is this hotel company in London. They've got a massive office. I've gone into the office myself, seen how the environment is, and it's just, no one's productive. They spend maybe a few hours before lunch. As soon as that lunch break comes around, mate, they get back to the office. They don't get any work done.
Yeah, people are clock watching in a lot of these places, and like I resonated what you said as well about like the darkness, because I remember in winters in the UK, sometimes I'd get to work early and it would be dark. We used to work in a store where there weren't any windows, and when you left, it was dark. So like you'd go for sometimes like a week on end, and you hadn't seen any sunlight, which is just wild when you actually think about it in that sense. But obviously I went through a bit of a different journey to Matty, because he literally went straight into the business world. I kind of went through more of I did all sorts of different jobs and took just about every course I could think of just because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Ended up in the agency space, working for a print agency before then obviously making the leap and starting our own. But yeah, now, like I say, we've got this new venture. I'm also joining Matty on the 6 month sober bit. I wasn't anywhere near as big a drinker, I think it's safe to say, but we'll probably do the year now as the plan of attack because we've just been so much more productive.
So good. And how have you felt with that 6 months?
Much better. Like you say, the eating and stuff out here is so much easier to just like eat clean. And go to places like we were talking earlier. Like I've never had so much steak. Like just steak every day.
We're literally at the moment we're all probably having steak, avocado, and eggs every day, aren't we?
But that's the amazing thing is we were saying, you know, steak is something that in the UK is
it's like a privilege.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm having steak, like this is the most expensive thing on the menu. I'm having it every three months maybe. Whereas here it's like some people are having it 3 times a day, like, and we're trying to get up to that, and that's the lifestyle optimization you can have out here, and it plays into your business, right? But one thing I would love to get into while we're probably going hell to leather about all these topics, but some people, you know, on either of our channels are thinking, who the hell are we? What have we done? So appreciate we're going to get to that part now as to why we're talking and we're here in Bali. So you kind of got onto it, Will, but like just round off your story as to where you started and where you came from.
Yeah, so like I said, I spent a long time not knowing kind of what I wanted to do, jumping between different opportunities, and just finally ended up doing graphics at uni, which I really enjoyed, graphics and marketing. Completed that uni stint, went into an agency, and then basically worked out in the agency that there wasn't as much kind of freedom as what you had when I was doing uni. So in uni, you would be given a brief. You could effectively have complete leeway on it, do whatever campaign you wanted. When you went into a agency, and it makes complete sense, they're not going to put, you know, the newbie in there, they're not going to give complete control. So they're going to put those who have worked in the business maybe 30 years, they're going to get it. You're very much like what I call a design monkey. So they give you like a thing, this has got to go here, logo's got to go here, and you just do a job of designing it. And of course, I think I just wanted a bit more control over like the complete campaign and execution and everything like that. And that's kind of what swayed me into the agency space. I was lucky that I had a friend who had just started in Amazon and was looking for someone to help him out. So I basically quit. He became my first client, and we've worked with him ever since. Yeah, like I say, coming up to 8 years now.
So good. Congrats, man. Amazing story. I love it. And Matty?
Yeah, no, I went down a very different sort of route. I was in school, I think around, to be honest, I was a very entrepreneurial kind of kid growing up. Even at the age of like 14, I remember I started selling, do you remember Yeezys back in the day?
So good.
Yeah, like
the original drop shippings.
I literally remember, probably I would have been 13 or 14, but I was queuing up. If you're from the UK, you know Harvey Nichols. I literally queued up on the street in a tent for the whole night in the cold just to get these pair of shoes, which I think were retailed at like 150 quid, 190 quid. Then I went on to sell it for 500 quid. So that was my first bit of money, getting some sales experience. But then off the back end of that, to be honest, I just spent years in school, never enjoyed it, failed all my GCSEs. After GCSEs, I was like, look, I don't even want to go to college, don't even want to go into sixth form. My parents were like, no, gotta go, come on, you gotta do it. 2 months in, I then found my first ever business partner. We started an events company together. We started putting all these college nightclub events through London, which was pretty interesting, just renting out these clubs, getting artists down. And then I actually met someone very interesting in my gym in London, pretty big name in the marketing space, Imam Gadzi. A friend introduced me to him. He was absolutely killing it in the agency space. He was probably, I would say he was 17 years old at the time. I was 16, so he was only a year above me. And I think for me, that's what, it kind of gave me that oomph and that sort of just seeing reality. You know, when you meet someone that's super successful, it gives you that kind of vision and reality to be like, oh wow, he's just a normal guy. So I think seeing what he was doing in the agency space kind of gave me that extra push to be like, oh, actually I'm running ads for my events company. I'm going to go and start a multi-agency myself. So yeah, 17 years old, decided to drop out of school. Let's go all in on the marketing space, and here we are.
I love it.
Down the line.
Killing it. Yeah, it's so interesting. And I guess my story almost connects with meeting people like these guys and being like, well, firstly, it's kind of surreal to be sat here with people like this, because 5 months previously, it was me, suit and tie, office, getting on the Northern Line into London and absolutely hating my life. But 8 months before that, I had met people like Matty and Will, in Bali and had just seen this life that they were living. And I was like, okay, so they're living in houses like this. They're doing jobs they love. They're making very good money, but also they're just very fulfilled. And I realized I was on completely the wrong track in life, and that if I blinked 30 years later, I'd be balding even more than I am, grey, hating my life, in a suit, just like miserable. And I decided that it was worth packing it all in, quit that all and move back in with my parents. No backup plan at all. That was 4 and a bit months ago now. And then ever since then was helping people with their social media, because I was posting on social media, transitioned into helping people with their offers, mainly coaches, consultants, freelancers, agency owners. And then it's scaled ever since then. And yeah, loving life now. And it almost feels ridiculous to be sat on a sofa with these guys in a villa like this, when 5 months ago it was a nice white office cell like we were speaking about earlier.
And so, leading on to that, like, do you generally believe if you didn't come to Bali to do that little breakaway from the life, do you think your life wouldn't look like this right now?
It's an amazing question, because if I hadn't come here, if I hadn't come to Bali, I think I would still be sat in a corporate job right now, because you need to know what you're missing in order to know that your reality is not something you want to change.
Do you know what's interesting? So this is the thing, right? It's like you're saying, it kind of opened your eyes up to it. So I'd been running the agency for a long time, like coming up to 6 years. Then came to Bali. We did a 2-month stint, and I came back from Bali and just had this sudden feeling of like, I couldn't explain it, like almost like loneliness and just like, I don't know, just complete unfulfillment. Whereas like before that, in that previous 6 years, I'd never experienced it. And then you come somewhere like this, you're hanging out with people who are kind of doing the same thing. You're getting inspired all the time, and then you go back to kind of the UK life, and I just felt it was just draining, completely opposite. But like you say, if you had come to Bali that first time, you'd have been none the wiser. You'd have probably been working in that corporate job and quite content, or you know, maybe not enjoying it, but you might have been more content than if you'd had.
To add on to that, Mike's gone dead. But I was just saying, like, I think it's so important, because I'm only 23, and I've got a lot of friends that they're now doing their gap years. You know, they finish uni, they're doing the years of travel, and I think once you come out here and you start traveling, it just opens your eyes up, and you see that reality, and you're like, wow, like it's genuinely possible. And I think it's easier than ever now to somehow get yourself into the online world. You don't necessarily have to start your own business from the beginning. But even just pushing yourself, even if you're working, a remote sales job, or you're doing something online, and being around the right people in an environment like this, it's just complete game changer.
Well, we were talking about this the other day, isn't it? Like, there's just so many more options nowadays. Like, imagine starting a business before the internet and like trying to get it off the ground, trying to go international, trying to do anything like this. It'd have been a million times harder than there now is. And it's insane. We've seen people who've just started for whatever reason, like let's say they've taken off on TikTok, and the next thing they know, they're making sort of stupid money within a couple of months of getting going. So like it's so doable now. It's just finding the vehicle that works best for you.
It's crazy. Even out here in Bali, like there's guys in the ecom space. I've been sitting at dinners, and there's guys doing multi-million a month. Like I'm sure you've met guys like that, Sol, as well. And it's just meeting them in person, realizing, okay, he's just an average bloke. He's just an average Bob, John, and Joe. Like,
but this is really funny, because these guys they're very cemented in this world now. Like they know the people, they know the industry, and I'm still in this halfway house between moving into this world. And I put on my story the other day that my goal undoubtedly was to hit $1 million a month with my business, and I just put a clip of me saying that on my Instagram, and I got so much hate from people, like so much. They were like, what do you mean $1 million a month? That doesn't make any sense, because saying $1 million a month, if you're in a 9-to-5 mindset where you're trading your time for your money, is impossible, because there's no way that anyone's time can be worth in 30 days $1 million a month. But it shows a fundamental lack of understanding about leverage and how you can actually build a business. And then that's a kind of like first principles thinking. But the other thinking is just sitting at a dinner table with someone and then being like, oh yeah, so we did a few million last month. And you're like, what? And then it happens a few times. You're like, oh, this is actually possible. So it's funny surrounding yourself with these people, and you just constantly have your beliefs broken about what can actually be done.
Limiting beliefs is everything. Like I remember growing up, and this is where you've just got to be honestly fucking relentless. You need to have the right mindset. Some people just unfortunately not built for entrepreneurship. Like I remember growing up, my mum I would be having arguments at my dinner table with my own family because my mum and dad would say, yeah, you can't earn more than 10,000 a month online. Like it's not. They would tell me to my face, and even when it came to fitness, and I'm quite a skinny kid. Growing up, I was like a stick, and they'd tell me, oh, you can't be like these bodybuilders. You can't, put any muscle on. This is your genetics. It's the same with business and money. Like I remember them sitting around the table. We'd have the biggest arguments ever. I'd probably cause a massive scene in my household, but I'd always walk around with that confidence and with that mindset of no, I'm going to be a millionaire. There's no doubt about it.
And sometimes when something's right and you've got to just go with your gut. So I did a year of computer science at uni and trialed that out, never done anything like marketing, design, anything like that. I went for an interview at another uni, sat down with this guy for like an hour who's going to be the tutor on the course, and he offered me the place, and I literally left out there and I quit the other uni on the spot and was like, yeah, I'm going and doing it. And everyone was like, it's so difficult to get into anything like computer science or anything anyway, like thought I was insane for doing it. Then when I joined, actually, finished that, went into the agency space, it's very difficult. Anyone who's kind of tried to get into a design agency knows that like there's a lot of applicants fighting for the same job. So I managed to get a job in one of those, did it for less than a year, and then was like, right, now I'm starting my own. And exactly the same thing. Everyone's like, you've worked so hard to secure this, and now you're just sacking it in. But I knew it was the right decision.
It's like that is exactly what happened with my corporate job as well. And it's the thing that there's this thing called sunk cost fallacy, which is you put all of effort into something, you put a load of effort into getting something, and then you get it and you get rid of it, and people say you're going back to square one. And it's like, no, because all of the information you had acquired going to that point has helped you then realize A, it's not the right point, but B, you'll use it to put yourself in that trajectory to the other way, which I like. But I wanted to people are probably listening and they're like, all right, 3 lads sat in Bali talking about it's so easy to get into the online space, buy our course sort of thing. Let's just be very tangible. Like someone watching this right now sat in a job that they hate or sat in a life that they don't like. What would you do, both of you, to get going?
I mean, first things first, you need to work out, what you earn at the moment, what would it cost you to basically replace your current lifestyle? Like, Bali's not as cheap as people like to make it out to be. Like, I guess...
Especially with these lads spending.
Yeah, we spend on, but it's true, you need to work out firstly, and to be honest, like the second that you can place your income with an online one, you'll probably find that you get a lot more time freedom back. You'll be more efficient with your time, so you'll be earning the same amount, but you're not working 40 hours a week, for example. So that's the first thing. But secondly, it's like, even in like the agency space, as I said, like I grew my initial agency off referrals because I can't stand sales. So I got my first client, did a decent job. Fortunately, someone came off the back of that and it kind of went on from there. The trouble with that is you're running your agency on luck. You're just hoping that because you never know when a referral is going to come in. Matty's obviously opposite, very, very good at the sales side, but that technically I would say he's more sort of suited to the agency bit. I'm probably more suited to service delivery. But what I'm saying is if you're like shy on a camera or anything like that, maybe the agency space isn't the best for you. But then there's other opportunities like Amazon FBA, there's opportunities like starting your own e-com brand. So it's just working out, okay, what would I quite enjoy doing? And then kind of doing a bit off the back of that.
And just to touch very quickly on that before I want to hear what Matty has to say is that is how I found it. Because again, being super raw into this space, I just had this mentality. Like I set up a mental health community. I helped people with their careers. I helped people with like social media, all within like a 2-month space. And I was just trying everything that I could until I found something that I liked. And that I think that sits there is like, just try everything you can and something will stick. And when it does, my God, it's beautiful. And you feel like you're in the right thing. Does that resonate?
No, 100%. But then at the same time, it's very, very hard nowadays. Mic's back up.
Nice.
It's very hard nowadays, I reckon, for someone who's, okay, imagine you're watching this now, you're 17 years old or you're 25 years old, you're stuck in a corporate job. You see all these opportunities left, right and centre. Like, it's ridiculous how many ads I receive on a daily basis from a coach or someone trying to sell me on their course saying, oh, look, this is the best way to make money. Look, there's opportunities everywhere. Will and I was sat in a meeting with someone literally 2 days ago. He's made, I think, multiple 6 figures from Spotify streams. He's never made a piece of music himself. These are other artists he's leveraging. And just, it blows my mind how many opportunities are out there in the online space. So I think for anyone who's looking to get started, you don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be a passion, but you do need that lever. I get it. You can't quit your job tomorrow and move out to Bali or move overseas. But I do think, being in the right environment is everything. So even if you have to go through a few months of working a remote online sales job, so be it.
Yeah.
It's going to put you in that position to be around the right people, put you in the right environment, and then you can start your passion project.
And you're honestly better just trialing different things out like you were doing and just finding what works for you, because you're far better. There's a real kind of mentality, and I think it comes from like the school system and stuff like that, which is like if you fail a essay, for example, you got a real sense of like I failed all that. But if you fail forward in business, so you just go, right, this didn't work, so I'm going to try something else.
Yeah.
And the quicker that you can kind of run those tests and you can try different things out, and the quicker that you can fail, the quicker you're going to get to finding that answer. Yeah. So it's just like those that I found, and it's one of those things that I've spoke to people in business before who've hit insane numbers, and they all just say exactly the same thing, which is like, we don't really know what we're doing, but we're just willing to test more and more, and more than anyone else is, and like to fail more than anyone else is. And of course, I've had bad points in, particularly with the first agency where things haven't been going well monthly, and I've had people say to me, are you sure you want to stick to this? You're not better off going back to sort of a 9-to-5 and stuff like that. And you've got to have this like strange belief that like no matter, you're just going to keep trialing it, and eventually it is going to kind of work, and that kind of madness eventually does pay off.
I love that, and I think you really like brought something out of me when you said the school system, because another thing that I think people forget to do is that just copy people who are a few steps ahead of you. There is, in the school system, we're told not to copy. It's like a negative thing. If you copy, you're doing something bad, you're not being creative. Whereas the best thing about this online space is there is people doing exactly what you're doing who are making 10 times, 100 times, 200 times the amount of money you are. And don't reinvent the wheel. Just copy exactly what they've done to get there. You put your unique spin on it, put your unique personal brand on it, but just copy what they've done. And there is no reason why you won't be successful as long as you stay consistent at that. And I think the school point you made is super interesting, because we're taught not to copy, but exactly what you said as well. It doesn't allow us to think, if I fail, whatever, it doesn't matter, because you get dropped down a set, you get like told that you shouldn't be going to uni, all this stuff. And yeah, as you said, I think that's probably a key to your successes, right? One of those limiting beliefs is failing fast. Are there any other mindset shifts that you guys have gone through, or limiting beliefs that have stopped you from, or limiting beliefs you have broken to get to this point?
An interesting one is, I always think like, firstly, like play the hand you're dealt, but also because I've had a lot of people say like, I couldn't be successful because I'm in X situation, and then you talk to other people in a worse situation and they actually achieve far more. So I think that's a big one. But also like finding what works for you. So like, we touched on this on a few videos. Matty works in complete silence. I know people who work with like music on in the background. I have to have a film on when I work. So it's like, there's little things like, I know once I've figured that out, I can lock in by having something on that sounds like a distraction, but for me that kind of works. But someone else, what I'm saying is, the reason I kind of bring that up is because I was told for years that the reason I can't focus is because my why isn't strong enough or anything like this. And it's all bollocks. At the end of the day, it's just simply the fact that I work differently to other people. Yeah. And it's a strange thing to have to kind of figure out. It's obviously very ADHD. But once I had figured that out, then suddenly it's like, cool, now I can lock in. And then we've seen so much better growth since being able to figure out that's the way I work.
So interesting.
Honestly, like Will was saying, it is hilarious how ADHD this guy is. We'll be working alongside each other. I'll be literally singular focus. I'll have some binaural beats in, and we'll be there watching a movie. I'm like, is he doing any work? And he's looking through an ad account. He's got a movie on the left.
I love it.
The left column on his laptop. I'm like, so it does go to show you generally do. You need to find your own kind of way of working, and once you found it, you're locked in.
So interesting. Any other beliefs that you think you smashed through, Matty? Any other things that you struggled with, or mindsets that you think have got you to the point of where you are right now?
A big one for me right now, I think, is for me learning to say no. Right
so
now,
good.
I'm really struggling with this belief. Like, there's people coming to me with all these massive opportunities. Like, I'm talking huge opportunities, and obviously, I'm in a position now where it's like, actually, I'm sure if I put singular focus on this one business, we're going to take it to a few million. But if I dive into all these little businesses,
100%,
that one main business that I'm trying to get to the next level, it's just not going to reach there. So I just generally think I need to. It's a limiting belief that I'm struggling with, actually. Yeah. Because people coming to me with opportunities left, right, and centre, and I just.
It's a weird thing about Bali, right? We meet so many people out here who have like hit, as I say, like insane levels. And then you chat to them, they're like, yeah, I've never run any ads. So then we're obviously like the perfect plug and play to amplify that, take it to the next level. But again, it's like we almost try and see these opportunities and go, how can we bring that into what we're currently doing? Because otherwise, you might be, cool, we could start an ecom brand, and we were talking about going to China and negotiating with suppliers and stuff like this. And it's like, at the end of the day, if we just focus on what we're doing, 100%. We'll get to that level. Or we can diversify everything, and this one might work and this one might not, and all this. But it's just like, kind of like stay in your own lane, basically.
And on that, I think the thing about when you start entrepreneurship and you start this game is you have to say yes to everything. You have to do everything you can to do as many things as possible. And then there's this weird switch where you have to say no to everything. And that is the stuff. What I'm going through right now is understanding that I need to leave money on the table now to make a lot more money in the future and not get distracted, because you start you start attracting opportunity after opportunity, which you guys are, I'm sure, have all the time. And you can see, there's 100 grand to be made here, there's 100 grand to be made here. And it's like, no, but if you want to get to that million, you've got to leave the 100 grand on the table, right? And that's a mindset shift that has flipped massively for me. And then it's like, you guys locking yourself in for that 3 months is the biggest no to everything else possible, right?
100%. And a big thing for us, I think, right now in the agency is just learning to say no to specific clients. Our agency is very much on a performance basis. Like, we're at the point now where, we do pick and choose what brands we work with, and there's some brands that, they come to us, we meet some people in person here, and it's like, genuinely we want to help them. But sometimes I look at the opportunity, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just being too generous here and saying yes to everything, when Willie and I are kind of learning to just... Yeah,
because the thing is, like, all clients kind of take up a similar amount of time, right? So it gets to a point where you've got, really high paying clients, and you've got lower clients, and particularly somewhere like this, it's really nice to kind of help local businesses and stuff like that. But it gets kind of like a logical point when you think, you know what, this high paying client is taking the same amount of time as the low one. Yeah. If you've got the opportunity, unfortunately, you do have to turn down some of the ones that aren't kind of paying to that same extent. And it's a nice opportunity to be in. Obviously, it's not very nice to have to kind of turn down some of these businesses, but it's being a bit more ruthless and thinking about the bigger picture and growing your own agency. We spent so long, effectively, obviously, in the agency space, you grow other people's businesses and then you take a small cut of that. And that's a massive part of it. So it's like, if you're going to do that, you might as well focus on the businesses which are going to, make you the most money as well.
100%.
Well, I want to hear your limiting beliefs.
That's a great question. I'd say the biggest limiting belief that I've had to get over is this scarcity and abundance mindset. And it comes out in buying software, because I will look at a $10 bit of software and it will eat me up that I'm having to pay it as a monthly recurring. And the other day I literally looked at Typeform and I was like, it's 50 quid a month. Are you joking me? And I was like, okay, but it's part of the funnel that I need to build, and I want to build this funnel. And that Typeform, literally one Typeform has made me 10k, and I was scared of spending £50 on the Typeform. But it's that scarcity mindset, that fear of spending, and that worry that the opportunities aren't going to come to you, that limited me. Whereas now I see opportunities everywhere. I think opportunities are always going to come to me, and that's changed my business.
Do you think you've got that limiting belief from being in that corporate world, where obviously I assume with these companies, they're paying for most of these services, and you're just using them and making money and being paid at the end of each month?
100%. It's corporate plus UK, because corporate makes you always scared about whether you're going to get a promotion or if you're going to get fired. And then the UK is just, you just fundamentally, A, don't see the opportunities everywhere until you come somewhere like here, but B, everything you do is scrutinized and negative and I'm competing with that person. Whereas out here, you start realizing that there are so many opportunities that, as we say, you have to leave a lot of money on the table. And then you start realizing, right, well, if I'm leaving this money on the table, there's no reason that if my business did collapse in a month, I could just get that back. So
yeah, I do think when it comes to, like you're saying with the courses and stuff, though, because we're the opposite in sense that we will just buy software and then not use it. And I'm like an absolute sucker for it. It's just complete impulse, AppSumo stuff. It's quite good now because I'd say I'll get sucked into it. The reality is we've probably got another bit of software which does the same job anyway. It's quite good then having someone else that I can relay off, so I can go, I can effectively go, we need this, and he goes, no, we don't, and then it goes through this kind of back and forth. But yeah, you're right. You've got to invest in the software that you need, but I think it's also like there's going to be a lot of bits where you can kind of convince yourself you need it, and in reality, you just wasted your money.
And it's super interesting you say that, because I think that's 100% a thing with those small expenses. But I think where I came from there was it's a bit more of like a wider thing, which is just a fear of, you by spending on more than less is this abundance mindset, which is like, yeah, we might need it and we're going to make money from it, and I'm happy to do that. Whereas I think the biggest thing you're almost at the point where you've been in this for so long, you're like, I know we're going to make money at some point. You've got such an abundance mindset. Whereas most of my clients that I speak to they have such a scarce mindset that it scares them to do anything that is like spending money, because they don't see it yet, right?
Brings me up, this may be a topic we talk about, I think, for the next 10 minutes, but, buying into courses, buying into mentorships, like, it's insane. I remember when I was probably 16, I spent quite a bit of money on a few courses. And
how much? Because people don't quite understand how much money that you have to actually spend.
Two dates, I've spent well over 5 figures into my own education. I remember the biggest one I've spent was, I think, £7,000. It was on pretty much on a mentorship, and it just makes you realise, though, there's guys that I'm friends with in the UK who they think that's insane, but then they go and spend 20 odd grand on university, or they go spend $2,000 popping bottles in a club. And it's like, mate, investing in yourself, whether it's fitness, whether it's health, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter what industry. I think it's so important, because you can go watch some content like this on YouTube, great, but you're not going to put the same amount of effort in unless you're paying for it. I've paid for £1,000 courses, £2,000 courses, and I've spent the next week or two just locking the fuck in, going through every single module and every single video. But then when you sort of set yourself out for, I want to learn this specific task on YouTube, you're not going to put the same effort in.
A lot of time I don't even think it comes down to the payment. It's more just like you might have your favourite YouTuber, for example, and you watch a couple of lessons and they're really good, but there's not normally a structure behind it like you'd have with a course. If you're trying to start whatever it is, an agency, ecom brand, they're going to have structured that in a way, normally like lesson by lesson, this is what you want to follow. And that's why it's so good. Like I've easily spent, I would say, 20 grand plus on courses and things, particularly in the early stages. One thing I would say though, if you're buying courses on the same, let's say it's an agency, you probably don't need 4 agency courses. You can buy the one. And I get into a real habit of doing this where like you're sending DMs, for example, you're not getting the call book rate or whatever, the bit that you want. So you buy another course hoping that little nugget's going to be in there, which is going to take you to that. And then you buy another one, you keep doing it. Whereas the reality is, if you just keep doing what they've told you to do, you'll get that result. And I think people are very quick to say, do you know what, it's not working, it must be some external factor. Whereas it's just going to take a bit of time.
I completely agree with that, and I think there is this almost ego off of who spent the most money on courses in the entrepreneur space, which is funny, right, compared to civilian mindset, which is like, how could you ever spend money on a course? But I completely agree with what you're saying, which is you are buying someone's methodology, and if their methodology has worked, then you just need to copy their methodology and stick to that. So I completely agree with that. But the best thing that I have done is investing every time. And I say it to people every time on sales calls that I don't care whether you invest with me or not. I'd like you to invest with me because that's why we're sat on the call. But I know that you need to invest. And if they go away and they say, look, I'm gonna work with someone else, I go, fair play, like they resonated with you more, you like their methodology more, that's absolutely fine, but at least you have invested. And my biggest frustration is when people think what they've done for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months is gonna somehow magically change when they don't invest. It's like, you need to do something different, and the only way to do something different is to find out more information and then add that to a bit of accountability.
And this is where mindset and stuff comes massively into it as well. Like we help out a lot of people, effectively partnering up with people who are getting into the agency space, helping out with the clients, service delivery, all that stuff as well. And this is what I'm saying, mindset is massive, because some people, you get on that first call and I'll say to Matty, this person's going to do really well. You can tell off the bat, and you're never normally wrong. Like, they come into the right thing. They're normally like proactive in the sense that, like, you say, right, go watch videos 1 to 4, and they come back and say, I've watched videos 1 to 10. When can I get started? They're sending stuff over. They're very, very proactive in that sense. There's others where we sign them on and like, they'll start ghosting us, and we're like, you're paying us to help you. We're effectively coming to you like, what can we help with? And you never hear from them again. It's wild, but that's kind of a huge part of it as well. It's how you go into it. The thing is, when it comes to mindset and stuff, obviously that is something that we can help with as well if that is an issue. But it just means that we know that in those initial phases we've got a little bit more work cut out because we've got to get them over that kind of line.
Well, it's just a shame how a lot of these, like especially in, like for example, just to name Iman's course, I've been in his courses ever since he first released some of them in 2017, 2018, and there's a ton of people in there. Let's just say that, and there's probably only 2%, 5% actually follow through and end up making more than 10k a month. 99% of the people in there, they're complaining. I speak to guys all the time. Oh yeah, his fucking course is a scam. I'm like, well, not really. Mate. You probably just didn't put the work in.
100%.
And it just goes. It literally just ultimately comes down to: are you willing to put the work in? Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily have to copy word to word and copy the full A to Z, because unfortunately, with the online space, especially YouTube, especially these small crash courses, or guys that have authority in the space, people follow suit.
Of course.
This is the best outreach method. Great, everyone jumps on that same bandwagon and they follow the same scripts. But
the thing is, it's a hell of a lot easier to turn around and say the reason this doesn't work is because of the course or the mentor or whatever it was, rather than saying the reason this doesn't work is because I didn't do the work. And people really struggle with that kind of self-reflection. There's been a few agency courses I've taken, and these mentors always say, like, when you're sending emails, send quick question and then the client's name. And I always said that there's no personalisation there, everyone's sending the same message. I had a call recently with one of my clients and I said, just do me a favour, go on your emails, write in quick question and tell me how many come up. And it was like 8,400 in 6 months. All agencies, obviously all copy and paste messaging, and then people wonder why they're unsuccessful. It's like there's no personalisation, you've used no imagination there whatsoever. And what we kind of help with, and what we obviously try to do in our own agency, is like, how can we get a message that breaks through the noise? Because at the end of the day, if you're reaching out to a brand, you're not going to be the first agency to have done it. There's going to be loads. So what can you do to stand out? That's where we do things like intro videos, showing our results. What can we kind of leverage to just show that you're actually like a legit agency.
I call them the copy-paste agencies. Follow suit. I'm sure it's the same in the coaching space as well. You get people probably doing the exact same
100%
outreach strategies, and it's like, look, there's no wonder why you're not signing.
100%. It's just pattern interrupt, right? Like you see, the one I saw recently is like, do you know Hormozy is a question. Like I get that so much in my DMs because they're asking me like that, and they also say, do you have a paid mentorship? And they're asking me to respond to that, and it's obviously constantly evolving the space, which is good. But I think, I guess it'd be cool to touch on, like to cap off the fundamentals that we think have got us to where we are. Like there's these techniques, there's these strategies, right? But what do you think are the first principles that have got you to being in this lovely, nice little villa in Bali?
Well, I don't know, one of the interesting, I guess this comes back more to marketing in general, because there's a lot of people who are kind of algorithm chasing, you could call it, if you like. That's going to be ever changing. I always think when it comes to stuff like that, you can simplify it. If the offer is good, people will buy it. If there's a sports car and that sports car goes up and the ad's awful but it's 10 grand, everyone's going to find 10 grand and buy that car. Because the offer's so good. So it's all about kind of psychology and coming off the back of that. So when we're doing our advertising, and it's getting more and more important now that AI and stuff is taking over, particularly on Facebook, they're relying you more on their kind of targeting, which then means, okay, if everyone's kind of got a level playing field, how do you stand out? You need better advertising and better offers and stuff like that. So what we're working with now with our clients is like, how can we kind of be a bit more disruptive? And how can we like create messaging that, the way I look at it is, if you can create an ad, it should be, some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, but as long as we're not invisible, we're doing really well. So like we've dived a lot more into kind of creative strategy. Obviously my background in design and stuff has helped out massively, but we're just trying to think a little bit more, how can we be different to all these other agencies? And what I mean, like constantly adapting and just not copying what everyone else is doing all the time, I think has massively helped.
And then, so to answer your question, mindset, honestly, it's crazy how many people come into entrepreneurship, or your question was along the lines of how have we got to where we are today, and for me it's mindset. If you haven't got the right mindset, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Like for me, I live every single day. I remember in the early stages, I remember days where I was depressed, I was down, I was really struggling, because it's not easy. I dropped out and I took that leap because that's just how my brain's wired. I'm like, if I just drop out of school, I've then got the pressure to make it work. Even I remember even renting an apartment in London at one point. I was paying like ridiculous amounts of money for rent, and I was only earning like 3k a month. But I put the pressure on. But then also it brings me back to mindset and having that sort of those limiting beliefs. Like at the end of the day, I live every single day as if I'm the person that's successful. I literally live every single day as if I'm that multi-millionaire. And if you can't live like that, you're going to really struggle. Yeah.
And it's having that resilience as well. I know we kind of briefly touched on this sort of stuff earlier, but like there was a period in my agency, particularly at the start of the sort of pandemic and stuff like that, where I lost a load of clients, and more money was going out of my bank every month than was coming in for like a good 6 months. And it was a case of just building it up. But it was just having that belief, and if I keep doing what I'm doing, eventually this is going to work. And it did. We signed more and more clients come through. Things started looking really, really good. And that kind of got us back on track. But again, resilience, we're going to keep doing this every day, and eventually it's going to pay off. Yeah. And it takes a while to see the result, and kind of doing that, like Matty's saying, having that mindset of just like, okay, this is going to work if I just stick at it.
Amen. I love that. Such a nice way to finish. And I think that's exactly what I found with my clients as well, that you want all the strategies, you want all the tools, but the reason you're not doing well, it always comes down to mindset. And they're sick. People are sick. They just want the quick fix. And actually it all, as Matty well pointed out, it's just up here, which is almost a funny way to end it, in terms of 3 guys sat at a villa in Bali saying you need to improve your mindset. But genuinely, once you sort out that, you sort out your life, your habits, then everything will fall into place. And yeah, hopefully that was very enjoyable as an episode. I love chatting to these two, so inspiring. And yeah, I think we'll do a few more of these, lads. I enjoyed it a lot.